What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Huddle, the number one podcast in flooring. We're here every single week to help you guys gain forward progress in your career. Simply put, we're here to help you win. For all our new viewers, welcome to the family. Welcome to the team. With me, more often than not,
There you go.
and with him more often than not, is Mr. Jose Gonzalez. I believe Daniel is at a baseball game and will be joining us here in a bit, hopefully, pending connection. I hope he gets on because he kind of came up
Yeah,
or
I know.
has this. This is his topic. So although I think there's plenty of meat on this bone, and it's hidden profit leaks that nobody talks about. And I don't know if nobody talks about them part. So hopefully he can join in and tell us what he's thinking about that. But I would tell you that there's a lot of profit leaks that I am excited to
Yes.
kind of chat about. Um, Not like I said, I'm not sure that nobody talks about them, but certainly ones that are not as clear as job cost and those kinds of things. So, um, that being said, Mr. Jose Gonzalez, how are you doing today? I tell him
Do
that he's in a closet because it looks like he's there. It's either a locker room or a closet, knowing Jose, it's more set up like a
it's
locker room.
it's more set up like a locker room for sure. It's my handy dandy custom closet over here that's meant for just my stuff. Yet I have everybody else's stuff there. So and then my little knickknacks and gifts and trinkets and stuff that I get from my kiddos and trophies from tournaments and things that and baseball gloves.
I see that.
Yeah,
That's
I
pretty
got like
cool.
two and my Voltron figurine that you probably can't see, but it's pretty dope.
So, hidden profit leaks. Um,
Dude,
I
like
thought
literally
a
go
good
like
way to
reading one right now while we were getting ready to start. Like,
I thought a good way to start would be maybe starting at the installation level, meaning what what we know looking back uh, when we were subbing or installing as our primary source of income versus a full service shop. And there's some parallels, but there's also some unique challenges to each side. So from an installer, when you were subbing kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
area, what I've got a few, and I'm gonna say mine if you don't say them. So
So let's just start by mindset shifts and changes as you progress, right? So if I go back to like when I was just installing and I didn't have to worry about anything else, um, I was always still concerned with being on time, making sure I did things right, um, and making sure I took care of tools because they weren't mine, right? Um, because I wasn't dumb. I knew that that money came from somewhere, right? I knew the money went somewhere, and I always felt like if I took better care of everybody's tools and if I did a better job, then when it came time to ask for some time off or a bump in my pay raise, it'd be easier to say yes if they knew how much I cared about their things and their time. So I would say that I did pay attention a lot to having what I had to redo of other installers. And I also paid attention a lot to tools and equipment that was mistreated or all of a sudden gone missing. Um, I didn't know the cost, but I knew that that's one of the hidden things as an installer that I worried about. And I thought that that was pretty common, but I guess it wasn't.
well, I have tools and equipment. Now this is on both sides or both areas, whether
Yeah,
you're a flooring a full service provider or if you are a labor provider. But your tools and equipment I used to buy the cheapest stuff that I could get my hands on when I first started, like whether it was trowels or knives or blade, I don't care. I was a bargain shopper and I was trying to find the cheapest of everything. That is a hidden issue. It is one of those. This would be the one that I would probably put under hidden. When you
That is very hidden, brother.
Yeah, when you buy cheap stuff, the amount of money you lose by rebuying and rebuying
Yeah, man.
and rebuying and rebuying because it breaks or it wears out quick or things of that nature, buying good quality tools, saving up a little bit, as opposed to I got $10, this is the only thing I can afford kind of thing. Uh, that came later in my career when I started getting, frankly, when I started getting certified and more attending more training and things of that nature. I started learning how much better tools can work when you have good tools. And so that kind of a side plug for training. And by the way, speaking of great trainers, I should mention one of our sponsors of the day, NASCT, is bar none. We had some folks go down to their last training that your brother ran. They were extreme. I mean, this guy's been doing it since he was 19. He's like 35, and he same thing as we always say. It's like, dude, I learned so much, and I didn't even realize how much I didn't know, and all that. So that's what you get when you go to a good, high quality training that like the NAFCT provides.
So he
So
gave you good he gave you feedback on it. That's awesome.
he did, yeah. Um, your brother gave me some feedback on him, and he gave me feedback on the overall experience. And so, what I'll tell you is these trainings and certifications, more so your trainings when you're working with the tools, the most often the entity is sponsored, or at least the tools are provided by one of the manufacturers. So you're getting really high quality stuff because Roberts or QEP Roberts or Crane or one of them are sponsoring, and we'll make sure that that provider has the good Mozart, trimmer or those things. That being said, that's one side benefit to getting training, and so seek that out. And NAFCT, there's nobody that does it better in the resilient world than them guys. So quick shout out to a great sponsor of the show, NAFCT. Thank you for your sponsorship. That being said, it ties right in. Like I would buy the cheapest equipment and tools, and I learned. So, and what even after I started, like I bought a more affordable blaster, and that thing may as well be a paperweight, a really expensive, heavy paperweight out back.
Man, you're gonna make me go off into La La Land on this subject because I didn't even think about that. But
I bought that thing because it was $8,000 cheaper. I should have bought a I hate to say too many manufacturers' name, but I would have bought a blast track if I was going back. And it's not that this blaster that I have is not a good hard hitting blaster. The the thing that I would uh, alert people to is that when you buy a cheaper piece of equipment, the one thing that often happens are those manufacturers come and go. So this guy's not even
yeah,
around. You can't get parts for it. I can't get it fixed when it
compatibility,
needs
yeah,
fixed.
all of
So
it.
like I use it so sparingly because if it breaks, it takes forever and a freaking network of people like top secret dudes that know how to work on the thing. It's ridiculous. So buy good quality, well-known equipment that it's worth it, especially when you're buying higher priced equipment, because saving 8 grand on a blaster in hindsight is nothing compared to the amount of money I've had to spend to fix it and the headache and the times I've had to rent a blaster because I didn't want to use that one because it
Oh
only
man,
gonna go for so long kind of thing. It's just like that is a profit killer when you start. just pulling money off your bottom line, whether you're an installer or otherwise, to fix equipment that was not so far off of the top line equipment from a cost perspective that I shouldn't have
Oh,
done it.
damn, ugly ass dude.
Mr. Danielle,
What's up? I don't know if it's gonna be too loud here or not, but
Sound
sounds
good.
okay right now.
all right.
We were just talking about tools and equipment, and I was telling a horror story about one of my expensive equipment purchases that hindsight's always 2020, but it you want to talk about a real profit killer is buying cheaper tools, cheaper equipment just to save a few bucks.
And I think
Um,
everyone
and like
goes through that in the beginning, anyways, right? It's just
Yeah.
buying stuff just to get by, and then
you don't have to.
you don't. But
Well, you
If
don't
you
have to.
watch the huddle, you don't have to. Just listen. Trust me. Don't buy the cheapest thing.
yeah,
Uh,
I
you,
mean that's a double-edged sword, right? Because you have to come up with all that cost up front, and then it's either that or buy the cheaper stuff and then having to upgrade later, right? Which ends up costing you more in the long run. If you would have just bought the good stuff, you would have spent less money to begin with.
And that approach works okay with hand tools and, things of that nature.
Oh
It
yeah,
does
but
not
big
work
equipment,
okay when you're talking about a $35,000 blaster that if I'd have spent
right?
43 or 44, I would have got a well-known brand that still works on their equipment, still does all that.
I will.
The problem is when you buy the cheaper stuff, usually it's if it's an off brand, you better make sure they've been around a long time and they're gonna be around a long time because getting that thing fixed right now is like a nightmare. Like if we need it, we have to go through, like I told your brother, an incredible network of people just to get anything fixed on the thing. And if it was a blast track or a well-known brand like that, national, something, well-known that's been around for decades, just call them up. Like, you know,
Hey, bro, you got some of this left? You got some parts?
yeah.
One of the things that we ran into is when we switched over from like the Chevys and the Ford vans for work over to the Freightliner Sprinters or Dodge Sprinters. We bought used because of how much money they cost brand new. And after 2 years of dealing with that, we were like, dude, we could have already paid off a brand new vehicle in 2 years.
Well,
Like,
it
that's
wasn't
how
even
much
just
money.
paying it off. It's a matter of being able to not spend the money on the maintenance, right? You get something that you know is going to work. You don't have to spend money on the maintenance. And then down the line, are you going to have to maintain it? Yes. But I mean, we didn't have to do anything like huge to the sprinters until probably 3 years into it or something. And most
Right.
of the stuff that was going wrong with it was covered by the warranty.
And that's always a good thing to have. Like,
And you're
man,
not coming out of pocket all that cost right away either.
you
Like,
might have to come out
a
of pocket for a rental, a van or a truck or something like
well,
that.
I
But
just mean like for the financing aspect of things, you don't have to come out of pocket for all that. And I know there's some guys that are going to be like, oh no, if I'm not paying cash, then I'm not doing it. And it's like, I mean,
Someday we
yeah,
got to do a podcast on proper use of debt and
yeah,
how to use debt, um, because it's not an evil word unless you're Dave Ramsey. And outside that, businesses uh, of any size, proper use of debt is a good topic, I think. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, quality products, quality tools, those types of things are well worth the money. And later on, you still have them. I mean, look at some of the old stuff that some of these old dudes have of tools that they used when 25, 30 years ago.
what's wrong with that, brother?
Yet nothing. That's my point.
nothing.
Nothing's wrong with it. Do
Yeah,
it.
like,
Just
yeah,
it ain't gonna be that way if you buy a $40 kicker though. You
no,
know?
no, it isn't. I don't even know where our cheap kickers went. You know what? Like, they fall apart, breaking to pieces.
Hmm.
Oh man,
Yeah, so there's a lot of profit leak there. And the other thing that I was going to mention, and then I want Daniel to get into it a little bit of what he was thinking about the side, maybe the hidden that no one talks about portion of this, but this one kind of comes out of the blue, and it's just doing quality work.
Yeah,
You want to talk about a profit leak, a profit killer is going back and redoing work and making multiple trips. We've had, I mean, it's hard to like 100% get away from some of that, especially if you're like our company and you use subs a time or two. Things don't go the way you want them, and you got to go back and fix and fix and fix, and the sub disappeared, and you're stuck, taking care of the client. That does happen. But as much as you can do with dealing with quality, that's what I I will tell you as an installer, I lost money. You lose so much more money, not only in the actual time you spent, but in the opportunity cost. Like you're there fixing something, you could be installing something that's paying you, and it's hidden because if you don't value yourself at a dollar figure of some sort, and this is my encouragement to installers, value your dollar even when you're the one that has to go back so you can know what your cost is in your head. You spend 10 hours repairing something, you value yourself at $100 an hour, and I'm using these numbers for easy math. Well, that's pretty easy, right? That's $1,000 you just lost, and
it adds up
it adds up
quick,
quick.
Quick,
quick,
So
man.
especially, yeah.
high quality, taking your time to do your job right and making sure you're properly trained to do it. I know I always find some way to bring it back to training, but it all goes back there naturally. The point is doing quality work the first time and being diligent, meaning even quality guys I have seen, like, it's 6 o'clock on a Thursday night and they need to get home, or they want to get home. A couple extra hours could finish the deal, and then they have to go back. And I've seen
I
horror
mean,
stories where
I mean, we live it every day, brother. Like that's one of the things that is just hard, right? You have this subcontractor mentality and the employee mentality. Like there's a fine line and there's a lot of give and take, and
well,
you fight it,
being as aggressive as you can as a sub, and being the one that's known for quality and going back and taking care of your stuff, that's all part of it. But if you'll do it right the first time, and I
you
give
know.
it to you, sometimes guys don't do it right the first time because they don't know what is right. And
Right.
that's my ploy for training.
And even sometimes when they do it right, having to go back and revisit because of other trades messing up your product, like
Yeah,
can't
but in
nickel and
those
dime everybody, can't nickel and dime everybody. So you try to take care of a little bit, and it's just the freebies add up with all the
This is
internal
true.
mistakes.
I try as hard as possible not to do freebies and not expect them.
Right.
If I
We do
that
too.
way the it's a level playing field. Hey, electrician, you messed up my stuff. Sorry, I filled your outlet box full of thin set. You know, I'll take care of my problem, you take care of yours. And because you can get into that, but that's a good point, and that's a personal decision, or a business decision if you're going to approach it that way. But I encourage people, charge for charge for it. The gimmies can come and go. They're okay, but you can get stuck in a scenario where you're doing them all the time and you're not getting it paid back. So just remember that.
Yeah. I know it's a sad truth, and it's unavoidable. I would say in some cases, in most cases, unavoidable to go a full year without getting something back. Or let's say job security on the punch list front. Let's just say that does happen. And I think Daniel and I, we had a meeting with the guys, and we kind of showed them like some of the losses for the year, and right, and it's a number that you can hire more people with the number, and even
Hmm.
no matter how good you feel you're doing, those little losses add up to a larger number than most people are willing to admit, right? And it's
Yeah,
just you
$10 here
can't,
and there, a
yeah, you
hundred
can't
dollars
avoid
here
it,
and there.
but you can minimize it, right?
Hmm.
Nobody's perfect. You can minimize it for sure.
Well, I take the equipment and tool thing very seriously. Now, if I'm out of town and I gotta fix something and I'm like, I'm already here, I might as well fix it, but I don't have a tool. I go buy a tool that is worthy of getting a number and put in our tool bin.
Yep,
I don't buy something
same.
that's super cheap. If I need a trowel, I'm buying a trowel that will last and can be put in the tool bin for the next time because I'm going to use it for half hour or something.
You know,
Or I had to just buy a vacuum. I didn't buy the cheapest, smallest shop vac just because I was only cleaning up 4 or 5 little bitty areas.
right?
I bought a nice DeWalt
Six
shop
gallon
vac.
probably.
Yep.
Yeah,
And medium size. It wasn't the big one, but it was medium size that can be used on our jobs. And it's now in our freaking equipment bin.
we do the same
So,
thing. We just you can't buy for the moment. You got to buy for the longevity, right? If I'm going to
mm-hmm.
spend $100 and I need it for 1 day, but if I spend $150 and I can use it for 1 year, you best believe I'm spending that extra $50.
Yeah.
And that's
Or
just
even
really what it
longer in
amounts to.
most cases.
Or yeah, or even yeah, way longer. But that the tool thing, and you had mentioned the trowels. We refer to the trowels available at like the big box stores as the throwaways.
Mm-hmm.
We just call those the throwaways because they don't steel and metal quality is really really huge when it comes to a trowel.
It's
Um,
almost the only thing that matters.
yes, and I didn't know the difference early on, but as you keep going and you keep finding out, like, man, I can't buy this patching trowel at this store or this type of patching trowel, or I can't buy these because they don't last. One drop, the corner's bent because it's a
Mm-hmm.
softer alloy. You know what I mean? And or it eats it up. The concrete eats it up too quick, and you're just like,
Yep. All those things matter, and I'll move us along to even bigger opportunity costs, which or bigger costs, which I think opportunity cost that I kind of touched on earlier is a big one when you have somebody who, if you have to keep going back to the same job, the loss, I'm going to give Daniel one last try here. Um, the loss of
Nothing.
opportunity, it's hard to put a dollar figure to that unless you put a value on your time, and then you can start to like, okay, well, this week, and being honest with yourself and keeping those a kind of keeping track of that kind of stuff. We actually at the company here 2 years ago, anytime we do a punch list or a warranty job, it goes under its own deal and it's line itemed out. It's not thrown into the project where maybe you had a really profitable job and then you have some warranty work and it gets thrown in there and
mm,
you never get that line item to look at, like how much money did we spend in warranty and callbacks.
that's a great idea, dude.
So we now know exactly the amount of money that we spend on warranty and callbacks every year. And those obviously are costs you want to get as low as possible.
Right.
And that's by properly training and making sure the expectation of your installers are at the right level. It often requires our project managers to get out and check on jobs more often than they would have normally, but it's all in an effort to keep those warranty and callback costs low. Another one that came up that I thought, you know, this really goes to both sides as well, but it gets bigger uh, when you have more, and that's employees. Underperforming employees will cost you more money than anything, whether that's an
Yep.
underperforming helper, an underperforming uh, employee, if you are, if you have project managers and estimators and field supervisors and warehouse guys, underperforming employees cost you more than almost any other given thing, because they can cost you money with their salary, but they can also cost you money because they're underperforming. So they're doing things incorrectly that are going to have to be either redone or cost you money because you missed something on a bid or what have you. I am the guiltiest of this. I dislike firing people. I've said that before, um, but you must get good at hiring and firing if you're going to own a company.
Yep. And I will
We
say
actually,
a lot of the a lot of the laws in Michigan now kind of prohibit people from hiring and firing right away without still costing us money, right? Like you gotta pay your dues into the unemployment tax and all that other things, and you gotta offer everything up front to people now, and it's just a total loss. And you gotta get rid of people quick enough to not put you in a spiraling debt, so to
well,
speak.
almost all of it is still cheaper than keeping an underperformer.
Oh yeah,
Almost all of it, whether it's unemployment, or what have you. The fact is that there's just a lot of times when the risk of keeping somebody who's not fully bought into your business or fully aware of your willing, in some cases, to be aware of your policies, procedures, and processes, like that will cost you more than letting them go and having to pay unemployment, or your, um, you know, and every state is different. So you got to follow your rules.
yeah,
Kansas happens to be a right to hire, right to fire state, and there's plenty of them in the union, but there's also plenty that you've got to document. Now, I would tell you that documenting your someone's employment is something you got to do each time. I don't if you're a, a single installer and you hired a helper and they didn't work out, like, and you got to give them, you have to have a reason to fire them. You need to be tracking every day they show up, any minutes late, tracking anytime they're insubordinate in any manner, and make sure you have at least a one pager of expectations of working for you. That does not, especially with ChatGPT, if you got on there and said, "Hey, I'm an installer, I hire helpers here and there, and I need a one pager handbook that, a one or two page document stating my uh, expectations and blah, blah, blah," and you start listing them out, it'll create it for you. Like, there's no reason not to do this stuff anymore. If you're an installer, you should have, hey, this is what I expect of you to work for me. It could be a one or two page document, have them sign it, and have tardiness and no call, no shows, policy for calling in, those types of things, and you put them in there. That way you have a document that they agreed to, they signed, and then you utilize a simple write up and you have them sign right next to it. I don't care if it's a piece of notebook paper that you keep filed away. Anything's better than nothing. But
well, and it can
opportunity,
help you
the
create your
long story,
systems.
yeah, and those will grow as you get bigger and you at least start something. But that is something I never did that I would do if I was starting today.
And then I'll add to that too is and leadership really has a really big impact in the mornings. If your leader is always late and people are waiting, if anybody in your crew is late and you have people waiting, four people times a half an hour, that's not a half an hour. You know what I mean? You're paying people to sit idle while while your leadership is oh, I'm late, I'm late again, I'm late again. That's a hard one to work through as well, right? And it doesn't always give the right impression to everyone.
Well,
Da-
Daniel has connection issues, as I would expect at a baseball field. So he said, "Sorry guys, I can't be on today." So we'll try to fill in for him as best as we can, and hopefully he can join us next week. Um, that being said, yeah, you're right. Like, I worked at a company by the hour that the boss would all. He was the owner of the company, and he was also the main guy that made sure we were all going to whatever jobs that day. They didn't have a work order system or anything. Just come in, and he'd tell you where you're going and what you're doing.
Oh,
Um, the the
mm, mm, mm.
bad thing to that is you're always waiting for him to get there, and he'd show up at 8:30, and then you show up to the job at 9, and you're already in trouble with everybody on the job because you get there whenever I we couldn't leave. So, you know, having your stuff, having a system that does not depend on that person is like our work order system with TradeTap is second to none. So we have really crisp, clean, strong directives in that work order. But if you're talking about like the lead installer, have some rules around that, man.
Yeah, man.
Like, don't let your guys. People need to be respectful of other people's time. And when somebody like accidents happen, things happen. I get it, but
Yes, of
for the
course.
most part, being on time is a character thing. You know,
Yeah,
being where you're supposed to be is a character thing. And I say that, and I'm conflicting myself because I also show up late to meetings sometimes, but
so,
I
well,
don't
hold
show
on,
up
hold on.
late to the office. Let me put it
Well,
that way.
let's backpedal a little bit, right? Because
Let's
I feel
back
that
up a little.
that's a personal thing too, right? Is I am almost always on time. Problem is that when I do get somewhere, I add too many things to that small window, and I do that to myself. I do that to myself for the most part. But I have that same problem, right? Like I'm pretty much on schedule, right? I have the same repetitive schedule day in, day out, every single week. Sometimes I just add a little too much. Like I'll have a plan with 30 things on it. And then I get there, and next thing you know, I have six, and I'm like, I can still do this.
Yeah,
Man, I
I'm
gotta be
guilty.
better.
I'm guilty of that as well. Which, if I got a half hour, I try to shove an hour's worth of work into that half hour and still get it done. So we're all not perfect, but the point is that most of the time, if somebody else is reliant on you getting there in time, that's what we're talking about. Because
Yeah,
just like you stated, like at the end of the day, there's a the numbers multiplied, you know, and if three guys are waiting on one guy to get going on something, then it's going to be costing you money. Um, whether that's in if it's a sub and it doesn't cost you directly, it's reputation. If it's or relationship with your clients, like there are costs to it, regardless. And the hard
always.
costs are, obviously, if you have hourly employees and they're waiting on somebody to get their lead installer or their manager, that stuff will drive me nuts. Like our
Mm.
guys, if you got a crew going out early, you better have one hell of a work order made where they don't need you, or you better be here.
We have a good. I'm sorry, I'm looking at some of the work orders right now while we're talking to make sure that I'm not over speaking. But for the most part, for the most part, we are pretty detailed in our work orders, and we try to have them up and ready to rock. And they are there for the installers to view, not only for the crew leader, but also everyone else that's involved on that project.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my pet peeves is people not knowing what they're doing on Monday when everything's been available for 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
or not knowing the schedule when everything's been available. And that's just, it
Well,
really is
the the
beyond me.
bottom the bottom line is those things can cost, and they're the hidden costs. Like I said, Daniel, I believe in the spirit of this is not talking about missing a room of carpet that was on the drawings and it got missed. That's a
Right.
mistake. This is profit leaks. And like I said, there is no bigger profit killer. I hate to even call it a leak than underperforming employees. So that's what led to you talking about, you know, people being late. That's underperforming. That's costing you money. That's
Leaving
costing
early, being
everybody.
late. You're right. The majority of the leaks is going to be because of the field, right? Like you can plan
Well,
for insurance, you can plan for vehicle maintenance, you have all that planned out. You can't plan for, I'm going to go out on a limb here. You can't plan for crews conspiring against your company, right? Or just not
well, yeah,
performing.
and hopefully that doesn't happen to anybody. But I would say um, one of the things in the office that we learned is, when you're signing a lease, I can tell you that'll suck your
Ooh,
profit dry if you don't pay attention to
the terms.
annual increases on maintenance that the landlord charges you. We learned that at another place. You didn't realize. I mean, you didn't read the fine print that says they're going to increase it by 12% a year or something, and your maintenance of for mowing a strip of grass the size of my laptop is going from $40 a week to $80 a week or something stupid, and that happened. And so
Yeah,
there are some
man.
things that you really need to pay attention to when you're signing documents and leases. Um, checking the boxes on, but making sure that you understand. If you understand it, fine. But that was something that came up with us that I was like, God dang it, man! How did I let that go? How did I miss that? You
How did
know?
you miss that? Yeah, and we just moved in a new place, right? We got a new place, and this is a bigger um, contract, right? We had our lease was a lot bigger, a lot more detailed than what we're used to. And I'll be honest, it took us almost 2 months to negotiate on the terms once everything was accepted. Right. And we went back and forth, and you don't want to do it too much, but um our representative was did not work for the company, did not work for the owner. So he wasn't an owner's rep, he was our rep, which helps out. That's one way to alleviate some of it. The other is submitting everything to AI and letting them go over and then cross-referencing some of the hidden details, and editing it and requesting edits and
Well, and there's always been tools around, and even before AI, you send it to your
yeah,
attorney and tell them, hey, find the stuff that doesn't make sense.
we sent it to
I-
my buddy who's an attorney too, and he helped us out. Charged for it, right?
sure,
Wasn't free,
but
but he
it could
charged for it.
save your butt,
Oh, dude,
long
there were some
term.
things in there that even the people who wrote the contract didn't realize they had in there that was incorrect. Like it's a drag and drop system, and it was like
Hmm.
it's like guess we have to edit that, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, Rollin says being on time is a big thing with him. I can believe that Rollin is one of them very punctual kind of guys.
Yes,
Um,
dude. Yeah,
so one thing that time is money. This is the last point I had. Is time is money, and kind of alluded to it earlier about the, um, you know, valuing your time as an installer when you are going back to fix something that you need to fix, that you put that number in your head. Again, as you get larger, you're going to want to do that anyway. If you're a flooring company, one of the best things we did is start breaking out, like I said, our claims and warranties so that we know the dollar figure that we spend every year on warranty and punch lists and callbacks. It's called warranties and callbacks. And so we have a line item in our accounting software for that. And so anytime we have to go back to the job, that cost doesn't get hidden in the project. It gets brought to the surface.
dude,
So
that's such a great idea.
time is money is the bottom line. So once you figure that out, you start to look at um, a lot of stuff you do as an installer, where you can be efficient. From a company standpoint, it's the same thing. Efficiencies, often you're using software and things of that nature to create efficiencies when you're in an office setting and you have, you know, uh, different software tools that you use, so you're trying to utilize those for efficiency. Otherwise, why would we do it? Just I mean, the old pen and paper works. Why do you do computer and Excel or some other software? Because of efficiency, and it's just easier and faster. And so the more things you can do um, to help your project out to be efficient. I'll tell you, one of the things I always preached was I was not the fastest installer, because, and I wasn't even the fastest, but I wasn't fast at all just because I could trowel faster or because I cut vinyl faster. It was all
Right.
about the setup. And
Oh
I
yeah.
may seem slower the first couple days, and then by the end of the week, week one or a week and a half on the job, all of a sudden I've got way more installed than you would have ever imagined, because we got the process fell into place. I was pretty good at
Systematic.
that as an installer, of finding a way to systematize the product or the project. So finding those efficiencies, they're different on each project. So it's not like I can just tell you, but I can tell you, some of the specific instances is having similar sized areas, like not prepping the same day you're trying to install. A lot of these products, you can install on in 4 or 6 hours or something. But if you still are prepping during the time when you could be installing and going back and forth like that,
Yeah, dude.
prep everything that I could get my fingers on. For the first couple days I was there, making cuts, doing
And
it,
people
let
thought it was
vinyl lay out and get flat, because then I don't have to fight it as bad. All of that stuff was so that I could be quicker. And at the end of the day, I get the job done faster, but with the same level of quality as if I was running around trying to, act like I was killing snakes.
yeah, that's a great point. It's being quick is not always being efficient, right? Creating those systems and becoming efficient so that way you don't have to go back, and utilizing that downtime properly is worth its weight in gold at the end of a project. You're not going to see a huge difference at the end of a 2-day project. And for some things you will, but
Hmm.
if you're there for a week, and you got 25,000 square feet that you have to install, and a week later you're 22,000 square feet on the floor and you only got a little bit left. And if you're side by side with another company who was banging out room after room every day, and you're like, stacking them dominoes, so to speak, so that way you can knock them all down at the end.
Dude, it's as simple as cutting your, like, doing VCT and stuff, cutting the door to at the door where it's going to go to another project, so that it's already ready to receive the transition, and putting the
Oh yeah.
transition down when I put my vinyl down. Just that. I gained guys that would lay their LVT or VCT back then, or sometime quartz or Fritz tile. That was the fancy stuff back then. Now we have LVTs. I've installed plenty of it, but not near as much as the VCT, the quartz, and the Fritz tile of the 90s and early 2000s. But my point is, a lot of guys just lay their get all the square footage down, but then they didn't have either product cut to the center of the door. So they're going back,
Mm-mm-mm.
they're straight edge down, scoring, cutting, heating, all this, and then they're putting their transition down, and they already have the carpet covering, and it's hard to get the transit. Like, do it, cut when like I would do that as I went. I didn't
Yeah.
have to go back and put in transitions, because when I was cutting in the carpet in the hallway, my transition was already there for that exam room. And I lay the deal and I cut it in and slide it into the transition while I'm there. I never went, but you didn't have to go back and put in transitions.
Staging it out is my favorite, man. Like that was always the it was always the running around like a madman, but I was setting everybody up. Everybody's busy and I'm just setting everything up, and And then when we fall back, everything just goes click, click, click. Back to the VCT thing, getting it installed and then cutting the door. Right, my pieces that I cut off, I used to cut everything. I used to put them right back on there. If I knew I was coming back, 2 weeks later to do the carpet, because they have to set up in these classrooms, I'd cut my pieces and I would just leave them there, maybe a piece of masking tape to keep them together just in case. And then when the other
Yeah.
installers came back, they just had to remove them, slap the reducer, put the carpet. It's like, why would you leave it all the way full? And I don't want to cut
Yeah,
it
I
again.
just
I'm
seen a
already I'm
lot of
already
guys
there.
do all that kind of thing and just being systematized about your install. And I'm talking to, a lot of the viewers of this channel. They know these things and do them. So I'm probably speaking to the choir, preaching to the choir in some sense. But if you are not used to these types of concepts, like thinking through, it doesn't take as much time to do it the first time as it does to go back. A transition is a good example of that. So yeah, I mean, you know, quality work done in the proper order at the fat is just a faster at the end of the job. And first few days, it can feel like, man, I'm not getting nowhere. And you'll have the super. I used to have superintendents barking at me. I'm like, just wait. But I would be naive to not mention the pressure that comes from the client, whether that's a GC or a homeowner.
Oh
They
yeah.
don't they want to see product on the floor kind of thing, and they think that's progress. And you know, they can they don't care that it costs you money in efficiencies to go back and put all the transitions in. They like it if all the floor's down and all you gotta do is go back and put transitions in because it looks pretty much done. But that's not always the best thing for you. And to speak about, quality and all this, I mean, it all relies on using quality materials. Another thing I used to do um, that I got away from really quick was buying cheap adhesives. And because early on in my sub career, uh, they would provide the material, but they wanted me to provide the adhesive. I'd go buy, I'll tell you what it is. It was Parabond bronze. It was like $14 a bucket for carpet glue. you know, it was like water, dude. Couldn't get seen. I mean, I learned pretty quickly, but it is the thing. I mean, look at one of our sponsors, Divergent. Like
Yeah.
great adhesives. You're not gonna. It's not the cheapest on the market. It's not the most expensive either. Finding a good quality product to use, if you are supplying those adhesives or the you know contact cement's another one. Buy Parabond 49. I think it's 40.99. Don't go buying something adapt at Home Depot or something.
Oh, dude,
Buy quality stuff. Makes your life go a lot better.
it sure does. And that adhesive thing is absolutely one of the biggest pet peeves of mine when we're doing labor only out of some of the other places where they would buy the cheapest. And it's like, I'm not going to use that because when that
Hmm.
flashes over, I have no tack. And you guys got me doing pattern match. I need something that's going to continue to grab until everything is set. Oh, we don't understand. It says it's rated for it. It says it is, but I'm telling you, the workability isn't there. This doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And
Well, Roland, his comment is talking about Tom Brady. He said he watched a interview of Tom Brady. He said he wasn't the best because he could pass better or run faster than other players. What made him what he was he spent hours on hours knowing the other team's habits. He said he knew what they would be doing before the snap of the ball. I tell my people, you don't need to be the best or the fastest. You just need to be the best prepared. I
yeah,
love that. And it goes along with one of my favorite quotes. And I attribute it to Abraham Lincoln. And I think it was him that said, if I have an hour or 2 hours to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend an hour and 40 or an hour and a half of that time. And this is not verbatim, but essentially, I'm going to spend an hour and a half of that time sharpening my axe.
love that.
Yeah.
And
So,
pattern recognition, man, that goes a long way. Both with
being prepared
You know,
Having your stuff ready. Another killer, just a side note, is not having the tools that you need for the job. I find that all the time still with installers. You're like, oh, I don't have that. It's at my this or that and the other. I'm like, it's
or
on your
I
work
didn't.
order that you were gonna do millwork space and you don't have a D cutter, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I didn't check the van this morning, even though I know that I should be checking it every day,
well,
or at
that's
least
the
know it's on there.
preparedness that Rollins talking about.
Yeah.
That Tom Brady, in his example, knew what was required, what was going to happen. Like, if you do this stuff every day and you don't know the tools you need, and given there's going to be a specialty thing you need here and there you just didn't have, and I get it. But for the most part, don't go to a vinyl job without a sander, without the proper cutting items. If you're doing roll goods, having your your cart and having your like all
So
that
the
stuff.
cart,
You know what you
dude,
need.
that cart.
It's a
Let me.
lifesaver.
Do you know how much money we wasted rolling and flipping and back rolling and flipping and dude, once we got the cart, like first it's like we don't want to spend that kind of money, right? Like the first cart we bought was $700. That's expensive.
Mhm. You'll make it back in a one decent sheet metal job. It doesn't even have to be that big. You'll make it
Yeah, it
back.
doesn't have to be that big. I tried to design one made for like Candace carpet. It didn't work out.
Well, I tell you that the other part of that is like quality wise. When you're handling the material so much like that and you're back rolling or
Oh
you're
yeah,
if you're back rolling, it's killing your back. But if you roll it out and then or pull it out over the roll and then you put that on and you got two guys on a pole that's through the thing and you're pulling it back. I mean, it's just it wears your body out, let alone uh, costing you way more time, and that material's handled so much more times than it needs to be before you put it on the floor. You get a cart, pull that stuff out, you make your cuts, like it doesn't get as dirty. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah, the cart's one of many things, just like the adhesive that I mentioned from Divergent, like having quality stuff or the tools earlier, having quality stuff. Don't buy the cheapest roller or the cheapest cart either, because I guarantee
no,
you the bearings inside there are not as quality, and a lot of times they look the exact same. Cart's a good example. There's cheaper ones, and you look at it and you're like, it looks exactly the same. Well, that's by design. It looks exactly the same. Those bearings inside there, there's something not as quality as the quality cart. Trust me.
right,
So,
yeah.
all right. Well, we have blown through even without our main guy for the topic, and we got through with what I think are some of the biggest things that have costed me money over the years, and I think that we're really aware of now, and it sounds like you guys are too.
That we're learning every day. Every day,
Hmm.
something new that we can be better on. Something new that we're learning. Tools that we find that can save us time and money. So we're definitely open. And I think we only touched on probably 1% of this topic because,
Well, that you can go as deep as you want, as many
yeah,
and as detailed as you want, but it's it's certainly there's a thousand things that apply to just one of the concepts that we provided. Um, so yeah, we could have went a lot longer had you got down into the details of every single thing. And I'm not suggesting you be the guy that's sharpening his freaking utility blades either. Don't be that guy either. Like
not on the curb. You sure?
I mean, I've notched a trowel or two in my day, but I don't know that I ever sharpened utility
I,
blades, and I have seen guys do that. So that's a little far for me, but you know,
that's actually pretty crazy.
yeah. All right. Well, I hit all the topics, the main ones that I saw um, and identified. Like I said, these are things that we've either personally experienced or has been brought to our attention from subs or just being in the business together. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, I know that we're coming up. the time of year where everybody's super busy. It's school season, all that kind of stuff. We should have had Jorge on. I guarantee he has some insights. He's over here commenting. I guarantee he has some insights on binding and needles and all of this kind of stuff that you got to be careful of. But care about your business, care about quality, care about your reputation. A lot of these other things will fix themselves. Buy good quality stuff. Have quality first, and most of this works itself out. So thank you everybody for joining us today, commenting. If you're catching us on YouTube, please give us a subscribe, a like, make a comment. Also, we're coming up, believe it or not, on needing some more comments. So we love to address what the audience wants to hear about. And if you think an expert, you'd love an expert opinion on something, we will go find that person. So make sure that you are engaging with us and letting us know. Throw it on Facebook, throw it anywhere, and we'll catch it and hopefully be able to get the right expert on. We have a lot of friends and colleagues in the industry that have
Yep.
many different talents. So we love to, and they love being on. They just want to be valuable. And so if you have topics, let us know. If you catch us on one of our other social channels,
Bam.
engage with
Bam.
that stuff. You
Bam.
guys helping us is important. Like we just get lost in the sea of podcasts, and if this is a podcast that's important to you at all, give us some love out there in the social media world. With that, I will tell you guys thank you for the participation, and we will see you guys next week.
Thank you, everyone.